You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. On today's episode, the Atlanta Hawks look more connected on the second night of the back-to-back as they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Bulls survive a trap game against Utah, and De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis own the LA Lakers. We got a lot to talk about on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, nation, you already know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and Chicago Bulls post-game reaction podcast. I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program, and you can find this show, which is absolutely free and available on your favorite podcast app like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and all that good stuff. And you can also find this show on YouTube, NJHawk40. If you are watching this show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a nice comment down below, and hit that notification bell so you know the next time Let 'Em Know Kings United goes live. Give the show a follow on those platforms if you can. Please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It is amazing. It is an amazing way to support the podcast, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to today's program. Well, 2 of our 3 teams got wins, but the common denominator of today's show is all 3 of our teams, I should say, played on a back-to-back. In the Bulls and Kings case, it was the first night of the back-to-back, while the Cavs, they played on the second night of the back-to-back. And speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, let's dive in and talk about them first, as they fell to the Atlanta Hawks 112-101 last night. Off of a performance by Saddiq Bey and Bojan Bogdanovic. They both combined for 23 points. And at one point, the Atlanta Hawks had trailed by 21 in this game as the Cleveland Cavaliers posed a third quarter rally by outscoring them 40-23. Both teams were coming off really big wins the night before. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, you already know what happened. We beat the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference thanks to the heroic performance of Dean Wade. For the Atlanta Hawks, they stunned the New York Knicks in a big win for them. The Knicks, by the way, had no Jalen Brunson, no Julius Randle, no Mitchell Robinson, and no OG Anunoby, Anunoby, I'm sorry, not Anunoby. Why do I got Keith Scabaloff from TikTok in the back of my head? But anyway, Atlanta went to New York and got themselves a W. Can I just say that both teams looked tired and exhausted? At one point in this game, I was like, Lord, one of these teams needs to make a run. That team was the Atlanta Hawks. I was looking into this series matchup between the Hawks and the Cavs, and for the Atlanta Hawks, this was a game that I felt that Atlanta looked more connected than the Cleveland Cavaliers. When Atlanta trailed by 21, they locked in defensively and got big-time stops and were able to get back into the game, while Cleveland trailed from behind basically all game long. Head coach Quinn Snyder said he liked his players not being discouraged or disconnected when they were outscored 40-23 in the third period. Snyder said anytime a team can go through some adversity like that and respond, it's a good thing. Cleveland at one point led 89-87, but scored only 12 points in the final period. Bay scored 10 of Atlanta's 25 in the fourth. I mean, that can't happen. You got a big quarter in the third, outscoring them 40-23, and then you simply hand the game to Atlanta. I mean, that is exactly what the Cleveland Cavaliers did. When we were trailing all night long, when we had a big third quarter, 40-23, and then decided, you know what, let's hand the Atlanta Hawks the game. I thought Cleveland was tired. I thought Cleveland was lifeless. I thought they were exhausted because they got into Atlanta at 3 a.m. in the morning, but that makes absolutely no excuse. You still got a game to play, and you still got to give your best effort. I think Atlanta played harder than them. I thought Atlanta played more with a purpose, more than the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I thought Saddiq Bey and Bogey did an outstanding job. Saddiq Bey said, no matter what happens on the offensive end, we control our defensive effort. It was trying to lock in on that end. The Hawks gave credit to consistent play from their defense in the second half when their shooting faltered. Atlanta is one of the most electric offenses in the NBA this season. And for them, the offense was going to come. The question was if Atlanta was able to lock in defensively. They were able to do that, and they were able to get themselves back into the game. The Cavaliers dominated in the remainder of the third period, taking an 89-87 lead off of Karis LeVert's three-pointer. And oh, by the way, the Hawks were without Jalen Johnson. He sprained his right ankle early in the third quarter, but that didn't stop Atlanta Hawks to come back. For Cleveland, only a few guys showed up. I mean, Jared Allen, he's been consistent for them all year, 18 points and 19 rebounds. Isaac Okoro added 17 big points. And then Dean Wade was limited to only 9 points after a 23-point game last game against the Boston Celtics. But other than that, nobody else showed up for Cleveland. And by the way, Evan Mobley with a sprained left ankle in the third quarter with a win against Boston. Mobley was held out against the Hawks and will be evaluated in about a week after a test confirmed the sprain. JB said the ankle was tender. We'll see how it goes. But for Cleveland, it's absolutely no excuse for this. It's absolutely no excuse. You were riding high off a win the second night of the back-to-back. You got into Atlanta at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm not making any excuses for this. You need to be locked in. No matter you have a day off, no matter you have a back-to-back, you need to be able to lock in for 48 minutes every game day. And I thought Atlanta played harder than you. I thought Atlanta was more connected than you. I thought Atlanta wanted it this game, and Cleveland just left their game in Boston, especially in the first half. I admire Cleveland's effort in the second half, but ultimately Atlanta played harder and were able to lock in on the defensive end. And because of the fact Atlanta got more stops on the defensive end than Cleveland, Atlanta won this game. Credit to the Atlanta Hawks and credit to Quinn Snyder. That team still has a lot to play for, and it was a good win for Atlanta. For Cleveland, you got to learn. You got to learn from this because you have a Minnesota team that is now without Karl Anthony Towns. He tore his meniscus. He's probably done for the year. You still have Ant-Man and Rudy Gobert to deal with, but I need to see if Cleveland can lock in more against Minnesota. It's a big game. It is a national television game on ESPN, I believe, and it's at home. You got to protect home court against Minnesota. I expect a defensive battle between both of those teams. But Atlanta shot 51% for the field, 36% from three, 43% for Cleveland, 22% from three. The rebounds were 42 apiece. The assists were 27 apiece. The steals were 7-5 Atlanta. The blocks were 4-3 Cleveland. Points in the paint were 58-52 Atlanta. Fast break points, 15-12 Cleveland. The turnovers, 15 turnovers for The Cavs, 11 turnovers for the Atlanta Hawks. Jared Allen was the only Cleveland Cavalier besides Isaac Okoro that showed up. 18 points, 19 rebounds, 3 assists and a block, 7-11 from the field. Isaac Okoro, 17 points, 1 of 5 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. George Niang showed up, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. Darius Garland with a cool, calm 15, 7 assists, but 2 turnovers, especially late. Not good enough. Karis LeVert, 13 points, but 4 turnovers. Not good enough. Sam Merrill, limited to 1 point. 0 of 9 from 3. I am surprised that Sam the Man came out with that effort. Craig Porter Jr. completely outplayed Darius Garland. 13 points, 6 of 8 for the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. But here's the difference. 1 turnover in this game. DG had 2. In my opinion, we need to see more minutes from Craig Porter Jr. As far as Atlanta, Saddiq Bey, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 1 block, and 3 of 7 for the field. 3 of 7 for 3-point range. 8 of 14 for the field. Bogey, 23 points, 8 of 15 for the field, 6 assists, a steal, and a couple of rebounds. DeJounte Murray, 18 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, 7 of 21 from the field. DeAndre Hunter was major off the bench for them. 17 points, 6 of 12 for the field with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. Good win by Atlanta. Way to respond on from them on the second night of the back-to-back. And simply put, the Hawks were more connected than the Cleveland Cavaliers on the second night of a back-to-back. It was that simple. Coming up next, the Chicago Bulls need to learn how to close games a lot better. Having said all of that, they still were able to survive against the Utah Jazz thanks to DeMar DeRozan. We're going to talk about that when Let 'Em Know Kings United returns. Welcome back to Let 'Em Know Kings United, and for some apparent reason, the Chicago Bulls find ways to make games interesting, and this was one of them. Look, you had a short-handed Utah Jazz team that was without Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. 2 big men that can really crash the glass for Utah. This looked like it could have been a trap game. And in my opinion, despite the fact that the Bulls won 119 to 117, it was a trap game that the Chicago Bulls fell into. You want to know why? You couldn't sustain a big-time lead. And once again, you allowed a short-handed team to come back into a game. And DeMar DeRozan simply said, you know what? I'm going to have to teach these Bulls how to finish the game. And DeMar DeRozan, if it wasn't for his heroics, I would have ranted all over this segment for the Chicago Bulls right now. Because in my direct opinion, despite the fact that the Bulls won, now don't get me wrong, I will take the win no matter how we can get it. But can the Chicago Bulls learn how to close games better? I mean, seriously, you're playing a back-to-back against the Golden State team that is looking more dangerous than ever with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, who, by the way, exacted revenge on the Bucks last night after a embarrassing 50-point butt whooping at the hands of the Boston Celtics. You're going to have to deal with Steph Curry. You're going to have to deal with Klay Thompson. You're going to have to deal with Draymond Green tonight. Why can't we just blow out Utah, blow them out of the water, and then handle a very close game, which I expected it to against Steph Curry and Golden State? But no, that's not how the Bulls want to roll. They want to get into a big run. They want to allow the Utah Jazz to get back into the game, and they wanted to let DeMar DeRozan finish the game for us. And that is exactly what he did. We got to learn how to close games better. We got to have to learn how to close games better because although we have been really good in the clutch this year. There's some clutch wins that I won't accept. And despite the fact that the Bulls won this game, I'm not accepting this. You want to know why? Because it makes your team vulnerable. It makes your team vulnerable because the Golden State Warriors didn't have to work to beat the Bucks. They didn't have to work to beat this team. Probably what happened was Draymond Green and Steph Curry played for 3 quarters last night against the Bucks, and they probably rested them to make sure they're fresh against the Bulls that, in my opinion, exacted all of their energy last night against Utah. Despite the fact that DeMar DeRozan scored 29 points, including the go-ahead basket with a minute left, despite the fact that Kobe White absolutely cooked 25 points, 7 threes, and had 6 assists, the Bulls survived a late comeback to beat Utah for the 4th straight time. For the first time in ever, the Bulls won back-to-back games and won back-to-back games at the Delta Center. That is not easy to do. Nikola Vucevic, 23 and 12. This guy has dramatically improved, and I'm talking about Vucci, man. He still takes a lot of threes, which I do not like and I cannot appreciate. But I love the fact that he's getting into the mid-range game. I love the fact that he's shooting from the block. I love the fact that he's getting inside. But when he's mismatched, when he gets mismatches sometimes, he likes to kick the ball out for a 3. Why not attack those matchups, Vooch? You had a matchup one time that you were bigger than the guy guarding you. Attack that mismatch and get more paint points. Who, by the way, the Bulls almost lost this game because their inability to grab rebounds. Utah out-hustled the Chicago Bulls for most of this game. Not all of the game, but most of this game. They had more second chance points than you. I think that was a really big difference. If the Bulls lost this game, I would have blamed on the inability to gang rebound. And I think the Bulls do not learn how to do that. I think at this point of the season, the Bulls still don't get the concept of gang rebounding. What does that mean? Every single person on the floor, all 5 red jerseys, need to box out and get the rebound. It's not just Vooch. It's not just Drummond. Every single Bull needs to learn how to rebound. I still think the Golden State Warriors could expose the Chicago Bulls in that area. And like I said, I will take the win against Utah. It was a good win. And the Bulls are 2-0 in this West Coast road trip that can define the rest of the season for the Chicago Bulls. But my God, can we learn how to gang rebound and can we learn not to give up second chance points? That's all I'm asking. We need to play a complete 48 minutes against teams that we know we can beat. Not allow Utah to get back into the game and forcing DeMar DeRozan to help us win late in the 4th quarter and exact all our energy in state. Debo said, we just got to stay the course. Do what we need to do, pull out the victory, and carry on. Every single game is going to be tough. John Collins led the Utah Jazz with 25 points and 14 rebounds. Colin Sexton had 24 points and 7 assists. Bryce Sensabaugh added a career-high 15 points and a career-high 12 rebounds in his first NBA start. And no wonder it was against the Chicago Bulls because the Chicago Bulls didn't KYP. They didn't know their personnel. They didn't know that Sensabaugh could shoot. They didn't know that Sensabaugh could pass. I mean, that is pathetic scout report reading by the Chicago Bulls. I don't know if the Chicago Bulls even read a scouting report before the games. Honestly. Utah trailed almost the entire time for the first 3 quarters, but Chicago never led more by 12 points during that stretch and left room for the Jazz to rally in the 4th. That's another thing. You had a 12-point lead in this game. Can we learn how to sustain leads? Can we learn how to lock in defensively? Can we learn how to gang rebound? It is almost the end of the season, and the Bulls still don't get those concepts. They don't get it. They don't get it. And I will not be surprised if the Bulls lose tonight's game against the Golden State Warriors. I hate to speak the future, but I think the Warriors can expose Chicago tonight. Colin Sexton said we fought down to the wire. Everybody stepped up. We had a lot of guys out, but I just feel like we made a team effort to consistently compete and just leave it out on the court. I like to give Utah a lot of credit. I like to give Utah credit because despite the fact that they were shorthanded coming into the game, I thought Utah showed more fight than the Chicago Bulls, honestly. Honestly, the Utah Jazz deserved to win this game. But if it wasn't for DeMar DeRozan, I would have been talking about how Utah outplayed the Chicago Bulls from start to finish right now. But Will Hardy said down the stretch, I thought the team really executed well. We got some good looks that didn't go. That's the kind of way it goes sometimes, but overall, I'm happy with how the team played. They played really hard. And by the way, the Jazz had a chance at the winning basket after technical fouls on Torrey Craig off the bench and Bulls assistant coach Chris Fleming. I did not like that at all. That was complete BS. That was complete bull crap. I mean, what Chris Fleming tried to do was get John Collins, who was confronting Torrey Craig. He said, back the hell up. Back the hell up. We got a game to play. Back the hell up. And what does John Collins do? He literally puts his hand on the neck of Chris Fleming and simply choked the man. He simply choked this man. I don't know what the hell the refs were looking at, but that should have been an automatic rejection or ejection, I should say, by John Collins. That should have been a double tech, a flagrant two. You cannot choke a coach. I don't care who you are. You cannot choke a coach. The refs completely missed that. I felt that John Collins deserved to be ejected. DeMar DeRozan should have had 4 free throws. 4. And the Chicago Bulls should have got the last possession of the game. And ultimately, the Bulls would have had a better cushion to win the game. Billy Donovan said, we got to be better in those moments. Not only do we lost a point on a technical foul, we also iced our free throw shooter. I give DeMar a lot of credit for being mentally tough enough. I think the Chicago Bulls, another thing, they need to be more mature. Billy Donovan is absolutely right. We gotta learn how to be smart. We gotta learn how to keep their composure. I think there's a lack of leadership on this team. I think Alex Caruso is the only true leader that the Bulls have. We need to be better at the end of the game. We cannot be in a situation in a situation like that with John Collins and Chris Fleming, we need to regain our composure. I think this was an ugly win. I think this was a win that Chicago didn't deserve. I thought Utah deserved the win more than the Bulls. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. And I don't care how we get wins at this point. I just need the W. 50% for the field for the Chicago Bulls, 45% for the Utah Jazz. The rebounds were 45-39 in favor of Utah, but 14 of those were offensive rebounds. Like I said, the Bulls need to learn how to gang rebound, and I still think they don't get it at this point of the season. The assist numbers were 29-28 in favor of the Bulls. The steals were 7-4 Bulls, blocks 7-4 Utah. The points in the paint were 54-48 in favor of Utah. The fast break points were 15-4 in favor of the Chicago Bulls. And like I said before, we can thank DeMar DeRozan for the greatness that he performed in the fourth quarter, because he was the true king of the fourth. 29 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, 10-21 from the field, 7-7 from the free throw line. Kobe White, he was impressive. 25 points, 7-11 from 3, 9-15 for the field, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block. The most improved player in the NBA is officially officially back. Vucci Main, 23 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists for him. Andre Drummond was big as usual, 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 of 7 from the field. Julian Phillips came in for 15 minutes and scored 6 points. He also had 4 rebounds and a steal and made 2 big-time threes. Colin Sexton finished with 24.7 assists and a couple of rebounds. John Collins, 25 points, 13 rebounds, 11 of 20 from the field. Sensabaugh, 15 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 5 of 8 shooting with 12 rebounds and an assist. Jordan Clarkson on the bench tried to spark Utah with 15 points and 5 assists. But the Bulls complete the regular season sweep on the Utah Jazz, but I still think this was a win that the Bulls did not deserve. They were able to survive, and that's all that matters. But I hate to speak to the future. I think the Golden State Warriors can expose the Chicago Bulls tonight. Don't be surprised if I record an episode tomorrow and say that I told you so. Golden State exposes the Chicago Bulls. But hey, I could be wrong. If the Bulls win, that would be huge. That would be a huge win for the Chicago Bulls, but I don't think it's going to happen. But speaking of huge, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis simply own the LA Lakers. We're going to talk about the Kings' massive victory over the Lakers when Let 'Em Know Kings United comes right back. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings United. The Sacramento Kings own the entire Los Angeles Lakers organization. 130 to 120, a massive, a statement, a monster win for the Sacramento Kings in a game that didn't start out that great. It didn't really start out great. I thought that the Sacramento Kings got completely outplayed, especially in the first quarter. I mean, when you give up nearly 30, or you nearly gave up 40 points in the first quarter, or you immediately think, oh my God, here we go again. The Sacramento Kings are going to suffer another embarrassment on the road against LeBron James and the LA Lakers. But what a freaking response by the Sacramento Kings, outscoring the LA Lakers 44 to 20 in the second quarter. And now, because of that, the Sacramento Kings have won 6 of their last 7 against the Lakers and remained in 7th place in the Western Conference with a 35-26 record. The Kings remain a half game behind Phoenix for 6th place and not having to take part of the play-in tournament. Right now, where the standings are, if we lose the game, we're a half game in front of them rather than 2.5 like it is now, De'Aaron Fox said. So right now, especially to play teams that are around us in the standings, those games mean a little bit more. And can I say one thing? De'Aaron Fox is just on another freaking level. I mean, there is literally no way in hell that I can describe so many words to describe De'Aaron Fox. Because this man had a career high, or tied his career high, with 44 points as the Kings continued its domination, its masterclass over the LA Lakers. It was Fox's 7th game this season with at least 40 points. That is the 4th most in the entire league. Mike Brown said he was amazing. I hate using that word because to me, that's who he is. It's hard to score 44 points every single night, especially on the percentage that he did it at. But he's more than capable with his ability. It was a big game for him in a big game environment. Malik Monk, if this man doesn't win 6th Man of the Year, I don't know what in the living freaking hell the NBA or the award voters are going to be looking at, because Malik Monk is winning 6th Man of the Year. Absolutely no questions about it. And Anthony Davis, I got one question. I got seriously one question for you, bro. One question. Do you know who your daddy is? Do you know who is your father? And it is DOMAS Sabonis. DOMAS is 9-0 against Anthony Davis. 9-0. So simply put, Anthony Davis, when you look at DOMAS Sabonis, you're looking at him as he is your father. You are the child of DOMAS Sabonis. You are his son. And DOMAS continued to absolutely dominate not only him, but dominate the rest of the league. He recorded his 22nd triple-double this season and 4th in the last 7 games with 16 points, 12 assists, and 20 big boards. He had a double-double of assists and rebounds. He had 6 points early in the game and then turned up for 16 just like that. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible for DOMAS. LeBron James led the Lakers with 31-13. He came out with 3 minutes and 56 seconds remaining with the game out of hand after tweaking his left ankle. LeBron has been listed as questionable in the injury report since the All-Star break due to the ankle. LeBron said some games it's better than others. I didn't feel it during Oklahoma City. I didn't feel it tonight until the fourth quarter. Some days are better than others. The LA Lakers are continuing to be in a downfall because they had a chance to make up ground in the conference standings, but remain in 10th. And the only 2 people that came to play was LeBron James and Rui Hachimura. Let's just be completely honest. And De'Aaron Fox said, we were getting deflections and getting out in transition, which was huge for us in the second quarter. We scored 44 points. But I think a lot of that was because of the way we were playing defensively. I love the fact that Sacramento was able to show a little bit more urgency on the defensive end. Darvin Ham, who is the worst freaking coach of all time, not just in the LA Lakers, but all time, he said this: they got a few easy opportunities in transition, and they were able to get inside and make some tough shots. The sense of urgency we have to be able to maintain that. We talk about forcing our will on the game. We obviously initiated it, but we didn't sustain it, and we damn sure didn't finish it. That's because Darvin Ham is just a really terrible coach. The Kings' largest lead was 22 points in the third quarter before the Lakers closed the stanza on a 15-5 run. As happy as I am about this win for Sacramento, I got a problem. I got a really, really big problem, and that is the second night of the back-to-back against the San Antonio Spurs with no Victor Wembanyama, by the way, and you're on your home floor. You, as the Kings recently, have been playing pathetic on their home floor. You lost at home to the Charlotte Hornets. You lost at home to the Detroit Pistons. You lost at home to the Chicago Bulls. If you lose at home against San Antonio with no Victor Wembanyama, I might be done covering the Kings. I'm giving you an ultimatum right now. The Kings need to win, not only win, but dominate the San Antonio Spurs at home tonight. If I don't get that, I might be done covering Sacramento. 55% shooting for the Kings, 51% for the LA Lakers. The rebounds were 46-34 in favor of the Kings. The assists were 32-25 in favor of the Kings. Steals 8-4 Kings. The blocks 5-2 Lakers. The points in the paint, 76-50 in favor of the Kings. Fast break points, 26-19 in favor of the Kings. And simply put, De'Aaron Fox, that man is him. He finished with 44 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 19 of 32 for the field. DOMAS, the daddy of Anthony Davis, 16 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 steals, 7 of 13 for the field. Harrison Barnes with 11 points. Keegan Murray with 7. Kevin Huerter, the weakest link of the bunch, with 12. I thought Davion Mitchell did a great job in this game. 12 points. Malik Monk, the 6th man of the year, 26 points. Keon Ellis really changed the tide of this game with his 5 points, but also grabbed 3 big-time rebounds. LeBron James finished with 31 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists and a steal, and Rui Hachimura with 29 points, 2 29 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals. Those are the only 2 Lakers that I'm going to acknowledge because they're the only Lakers that actually showed up in this game. Great win for Sacramento, but here's a challenge. Bring that same energy at home against the San Antonio Spurs. We bring that same energy, we're not going to have a problem. If you lose to San Antonio, I'm done covering y'all. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and your favorite podcast app, and on YouTube. Like this video if you're watching it on YouTube. Hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell. Give the show a follow on those platforms. Turn on your notifications and give the show a follow or a 5-star review rating. I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you right back here for another great edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United.